Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Demon Hunters goes free to play for the low price of $9.99. Wet Stinky Caches. Ass-Pyre brings the geometry. All three of them. And Space needs your help to turn a simulation into a game? Question mark?
Speaking of Space, Richard Garriott wants to go back, and he wants you to foot the bill. Project Vaulderie gets the life sucked out of it, but lawyers do tend to do that. And thin isn't beautiful, and neither is anoxia, whatever the hell it's called. Anorexia, whatever.
Ensign 1 officially goes up on Steam. Brendan Smith joins the murky bathwater that is Steam nowadays. NVidia contributes to Nouveau once again. Grab your survival kit, kids. The end times are upon us. Unigine updates their engine. It's always good to see new benchmarking tools on Linux.
And that lovely voice was Pedro Maes, all the way from Space, Portugal, and...
Hello!
This beast, this man, this poster collecting hoarder.
God is here.
I know! Massa Svang from Canada. I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual. We're basically just three talentless hacks talking about Linux gaming news. And that's, see, I almost did it right there, but I'm not. But before we get started with the show, we like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. What's up, baby? What's up, stud? Tell me what.
Oh, well, I just recently discovered my head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
With teeth.
With teeth.
With teeth.
In slow motion, inverted.
I really want an NVIDIA shield. I really do. Over
here, I pulled the trigger to buy a 28-inch 4K monitor. Not a TV. Very excited about that. Well, I was, until I went, oh, right, American holiday. Fuck me, that's why. So I don't get it until Monday.
Man, I keep waiting and waiting, because I know the second I buy a 4K monitor, there's just going to be it's going to be shit, and there's going to be a better one out in like 4 months. And
I'm kind of happy with this one because I basically got it for half off. It's normally like 600 and something quid.
Yeah, I know. You showed me those $150 1080p monitors. Those were dirt cheap.
Like 150 for 28 inches, giggity. But do you know what else is full metal giggity, J-Man?
What's that?
That's what the horse does every week.
He goes into space?
Yeah.
It's our Steam
Linux
update
of the week.
So apparently we don't have a PSA.
we don't, because it was complete crap. Anyways, so if you're not sure about my space comment, Richard Garriott is one of the few astronauts who owns a gaming company, and he's putting out this game called Shroud of the Avatar: Forsaken Virtues. You might remember this from his Kickstarter from last year, but now it's in early access for the low price of $50.
38.24 American scum dollars. What is it, man?
Yeah, I mean, why buy the game when you can pay us to test it?
Well, what they're saying is it's currently in pre-alpha, fantasy RPG MMO. That's blah blah blah. Yeah,
basically sort of text interface that the old Ultima games had. They're trying to do a bit of a revival for that, which seems pretty cool. But then, if you didn't back the Kickstarter, you might guffaw at that early access price.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I backed the Kickstarter when this first came out, and I played this billions of years ago in the future's past, and man, all I can tell you right now is do not pick this up. It is completely unfinished. There's so much that is just not in it, and really, they raised 1.9 million out of a 1 million stretch goal, and this thing launches on Greenlight in a pre-mothering alpha form. So I'm going to say new rule. If you hit your crowdfunding goal, you really shouldn't be able to double dip into the early access.
But then your favorite game, Distance, you could buy their beta and get their early access on Steam. So I mean, they kind of did the same thing.
Well, it's not in early access on Steam.
Well, not on
yet.
Steam, but you essentially you pay for the game, and then they give you a beta key.
Right.
And that turns into a full copy of the game.
It's not on early access yet.
It's effectively the same thing. It's effectively the same.
They are going for actual early access on Steam, December 9th, if I'm not mistaken. They said it in their forums. You need to be a backer to access that particular section of the forums, but yeah, they will be going on early access.
I don't know. I mean, that would make a new rule. If you're going into early access, you only get 1 year before we can throw chairs at it. I'm sorry, it's not a permanent...
See, that seems like a fair rule. That seems like a fair rule.
1 year in early access, and you're up for the chairs.
Yeah.
All right, but speaking of chairs,
Akanero, Demon Hunters.
Wait, I thought this was free to play when it was in Greenlight. Oh, wait, it was.
You know, Akanero is Japanese for shitty fucking free to play game. That's not actually free.
Right
Shitty
here.
fucking Unity free to play game.
On the Greenlight, free to play for the low price of once it's launched, $9.99.
Brilliant.
Was that supposed to be the collector's edition that came with the soundtrack and the
No. This just gives you 30 quid worth of play to win currency shit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they have microtransactions.
That's right. We actually did cover this game like a year or two ago.
Oh,
It was still in the browser. You had to grab their RPM off the open build system from Susie.
Yep.
I remember that. It didn't fucking work.
They raised $200,000 in their Kickstarter with that business, and they're charging microtransactions for an unfinished game that, if you read in their forums, they said this will go completely free to play on Steam any day now, and they said that back in October. You could play this on Desura, but they've completely busted that Linux build. And being with the microtransactions, one more thing. If you've already leveled up and did all this and played all that bits on the non-Steam version, none of that transfers over to the Steam version because
are they on completely different servers, or did they?
It's the same server. There's some legal bullshit that they can't deal with.
What's that?
Middleware. Good times.
I don't know. The reviews are mixed on this. It's $9.99 for a free-to-play game, so I'm just going to say fuck this noisy. You need Ubuntu 12.04 X Ubuntu. Recommended.
Well, it's good that they depend on XFCE.
Well, I like this. You need to know OS for the minimum, but it's recommended that you do not play it with an operating system. Really, the
Just
two
play
kids.
it
all you need is a broadband internet connection.
Oh, that's another thing. They were supposed to make it multiplayer, and that's never going to fucking happen. But it's an online internet persistent for no fucking reason. You have to be online to play it. Fuck you. That's why.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, from one completely busted game to a slightly busted game. This is I kid because this is from Brandon Smith, old friend of the show. This is Ensign 1. He describes it as a space combat game that gives players the freedom to leave their fighter to board ships, man turrets, and hijack alien fighters. Yeah, so he basically tried to do 10 to the Sea, that project that Notch was working on at Mojang that he eventually scrapped. But on a much smaller budget.
And also, this sort of came about before 10 to the Sea was even announced.
Yeah.
But so yeah, most people Notch was ripping off this guy. But, hey, but you know what? Ben's in the game.
Yes, actually in the game.
It's great fun to listen to him read lines off of a page and not give a shit and mispronounce things and... Oh man, it's just way too fun.
If you watch the show, you already know what kind of words Ven mispronounces. So imagine that coming up on a game that you're playing and trying to get immersed in.
It's great because it's like, oh, I mispronounced that. That's not even what it says on the damn screen. I don't even know what the hell he's talking about now. Something about enchiladas. What?
All I can say at the end of the day, he got his money's worth.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, that's the thing. Play with it if you want. It does. All right. It used to have multiplayer. Apparently that got scrapped.
Yeah, there is multiplayer in the game itself. There aren't just any servers up right now. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Software, I guess.
Yeah, but for me, I actually had to symlink libglue SO19 to libglue SO15 for it to even start. Then, you should definitely run an LDD on the game on the game's executable before you actually run it. And even
neither
after
of you were
that,
able to
the
play.
game just crashes right after Ven's initial spiel. So
I was actually able to play the game, and I got through several avenge spiels. And just laughing my ass off too hard, so I had to close the game because
I'll be perfectly honest. Brandon said it's some keys because he's like, it's finally on the early access for the Linux and all that. And I clicked play, it didn't launch, and I went, all right, what else are we up to?
triangles. That's what.
Oh, man. Geometry
fuck,
Wars
those
3
are gyro things,
Dimensions
seriously.
for you. Check this out. Enjoy the next chapter in the award-winning Geometry War franchise and battle through waves of enemies in this frantic arcade shooter. Clocks in at 14.99. Now, you might be thinking, hey, who made this? It was Ass-Pyre that ported it, but then you're also thinking, hey, Othervin, didn't they say they had a super secret game that no one would guess? Yes, they did, Othervin, but this isn't it. We don't know what that is, but we know what this is. This is Fuck You, the game.
Geometry Wars
Yeah.
is fairly well received from what I understand. I never played it, but
P-Man?
I played Geometry Wars 2, and from what I read about this specific game, especially in the reviews, even though they are very positive, the reviews on Steam, apparently the orange arrow things are still a bitch, and they kill a lot of people. So be warned. If you like the original one, you're probably going to like this one. At $15, I don't
Wait
think
till
I'm
it
going
goes
to
on
pick
sale.
it up.
Wait,
Yeah,
they go on
just-
sale, but definitely.
the Christmas sale is just around the corner. So
Anything you get
Hold
from
off on
Ass-Pyre, make sure that you download it and only play it on Linux for that first week so they get a bit of the taste of that action.
they get
Yes,
they get
need
their
to
money's
get
worth.
the
Yeah.
money's.
I know.
But our favorite Serbian is back
I know.
with his overly
Yes.
complex beta registration process that takes 492,000 steps to accomplish for a chance that you would access their beta.
It is actually easier to build a Tesla coil than to get into the beta for this game. But yeah, it's not a beta anymore. It's actually out, properly out now. And if the negative review average on Steam doesn't tip you off, it should. It's not very good. They describe it as a classic 2D platformer that blends elements of Nikola Tesla puzzles, inventions, and 1800s era, wait for it, zombies. Yes.
So
because
basically,
no
if they're,
shitty
if
game
they're, if
wants
they're
to
blending elements of Nikola Tesla, so there's no sex involved whatsoever.
do none whatsoever.
The biggest thing I read
But,
with
yeah.
the reviews is like, oh, it's pretty enough, and which it is. There's no skipping on the art style, but the controls are complete rubbish. And
Murky. Yeah, they're
they're all-
completely murky.
parts in the levels that require very precise movement, and this game's like, nah, we're not having any of that business. That would make it playable.
Yeah,
So-
it was already an issue in the beta. The controls were completely murky. It was like walking through mud. It's not a pleasant platformer at all. And like Ven said, you need very precise jumping in some specific areas of some maps.
You
Uh,
think with Tesla being obsessive compulsive, they would actually include that in their game.
Yeah, I'm guessing no
obsessively
one even
compulsive about the
remotely
controls.
close to Tesla actually got any sort of
Well,
input
you
in
can
this
pick this
game.
up on sale. I mean, it's $4.99 regularly. That
Yeah,
matters.
it's $5, and I still think it's
No, maybe it
$5
needs
too
fixing.
expensive.
Give that one a pass. That wraps
Yeah.
up Steam Linux update of the week. Coming up next, NVidia does the impossible, and
No,
something
that-
involving Grumpy Cat.
Hello once again. It's the news. And to start us off this week, yep, you guessed it, more drivers. This time around, holy balls, it's the end times, kids. Because NVIDIA is apparently still feeling that bird that Linus flipped at them a couple of years back. Because they are contributing to the Nouveau drivers, a 2000-ish line patch to support the Tegra K1. If you don't know what that is, have you been living under a rock? But in the off chance that you really don't, it's their ARM, their flagship ARM system on a chip. It's got 192 graphics processors and 4 proper CPUs in it. But it can technically be run by Nouveau. It just needed some patching. And
some patching. So the GPU is a pure render node, has no display engine. That's somewhere else on the silicon. So basically, you needed to create one Nouveau device and pipe the output of that to another Nouveau device so that you can actually display your shit on the screen. Reading through this patch makes my head hurt.
Yeah, Thierry Redding from NVidia actually submitted this patch to the free desktop guys, and there is apparently some work to be done in the to-dos. He says that use Nouveau headers to get at the prototype for creating a screen, implement enough support to seamlessly integrate with X, and refactor some of the code to be reusable by other drivers. So there is still some work to be done, but hey, it's NVIDIA contributing to the open source.
This is the RFC/initial commit for that. So
yes,
there will always be work to do.
I guess at the end of the day, it's better than nothing, right? So,
and yeah, I'm in the business of being fair, and this just justifies me getting an NVIDIA Shield tablet even more. God, I really want one of those.
Okay.
So that in 2 years you can actually install a proper Linux.
What is this, J-Man? I've never heard of it.
Oh, this is actually if you are a fan of the Dolphin emulator and you like playing the Wii and the GameCube games on your Linux box, this is something for you. This is the WeeWee Cube, which sounds
No. I just want to go on record. Nintendo really genuinely screwed up. And when they called it the Wii U, it should have been called the WeeWee. Sorry.
No, it's like from Kung Pao Enter the Fist. I'm Link's father. You. But anyways, this is a user space driver for a USB Wii U GameCube controller adapter. So if you like playing Smash Bros or what have you, you can use this. It functions very similar to Xbox DRV, as a matter of fact. Well, it's same idea, different execution. However, it is still in development. You may need to edit your Xorg configuration. They give you the input class at the bottom of the GitHub page.
Wait, is it still messing with the mouse? Like if you wiggle the controller, it moves the mouse cursor around?
I don't know. I haven't actually tried this out with Dolphin yet. I just thought it was kind of...
No, I guess that's fun for like arcade emulation. To be perfectly honest, I mean, FX series from Logitech or just an X-Clone controller is probably going to suit most people, right?
Yeah, like I said though, if you're playing Smash, you're used to certain button combinations and whatnot, so use the same controls. Actually, this thing does support multiple controllers, so that is kind of cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. But anyways,
it's unreal.
Things are about to get a bit
Unigine!
unreal.
Well, it's not Unreal, it's Unigine themselves. You know, the engine that I've been using to benchmark my new Amiga computer. And they have come out with the 2.0 alpha preview. And the main changes... Yeah, they have some new changes, like they've dropped support for DirectX 9, OpenGL ES 2.0, PlayStation 3, WebGL, and Windows RT. They have
but what about my Surface tablet? What will I do?
Yeah, they have introduced new features for DirectX 11 Plus. Who cares about that? And support for OpenGL 4.5. About goddamn time. They've improved a bunch of new things, included support for the NVIDIA Tegra K1. Topical, isn't it? But yeah, I was looking through the page, and as soon as I saw the very first screenshot, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with those cherries?
No, you do like a full-on double take. It's like, something about this image does not look right. Start looking closer. Cherries have no reflection. It just looks like someone pasted a texture right on top of the bowl and cropped it out.
And not just that, the entire thing, if you actually look at the cherries, the aliasing on it looks hideous. I mean, it's the cherries and that book on the shelf back there. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
One thing that stood out in the patch notes for me was that apparently they modified the Disney GGX PRDF in order to create the ability to vary the fluffiness degree. That is a thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. You know, they removed all. That's good that they've cleaned up. I mean, because they pulled out DirectX and OpenGL, PlayStation 3, WebGL, which I'm like, why?
Basically anything that's not on the market right now.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is no one is using this fucking engine at all. So.
Except for themselves. Like I said, up-to-date benchmarking tools. I'm okay
But
with that.
if you look at the screenshots, it enables developers to create the most hyper-realistic porno couches ever.
Just don't put cherries in bowls.
Just don't put cherries on
All
them.
those
You don't need
screenshots
fun.
would be amplified with the Brazers logo.
Oh, yes. And rendered in HD. Oh, but speaking of kinky bondage, Binding of Isaac, Afterbirth. Yeah, so they're planning an expansion for the latest Binding of Isaac remake. That one was called Rebirth, and they're looking for input. They want crazy new items from your imagination, and you can vote on it through the time-honored system of Reddit. You go to their subreddit, you post your idea, and people upvote it, downvote it, and whoever gets the most upvotes gets their items in there. They have some rules there. Don't combine items. Don't make them overly complicated. Make them actually interesting. Don't make them redundant. All that good stuff. So it's good that they're asking for some fan input. And this is available on Linux, so it is partially relevant.
Well, can I suggest that they make a fun game?
But Binding of Isaac is fun. It's roguelike Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, basically. But it used to have this big following not too long ago, and I don't know, for me personally, I like roguelikes, but the ship has kind of sailed on this one.
Oh, it's market saturation. It really is. But
Yeah.
the hardcores certainly love it. And speaking of hardcore,
Oh,
so remember
this I was
we
pretty disappointed about.
So we talked about this a couple months ago. Project Baldery, which is a fan Unity remake of Vampire the Masquerade using the original game assets and game data, has been shut down because CCP Games, the fine folks who bring you EVE Online, everyone's favorite spreadsheet simulator, have the rights to make World of Darkness games in the White Wolf World of Darkness franchise. And because U.S. trademark law requires you to defend your patent or defend your trademark or risk losing it, they basically had to send these guys a cease and desist saying, you can't do it anymore, you are infringing on our trademarks. Fuck off.
I don't know. When I saw that, it's probably better that they do it now. Now, they were going to make this using Unity, so it was going to have Linux support, supposedly. But it's better they do this instead of, oh, here's our first, 1.0 version. Then they go, nope, sauce on them. P-Man?
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed when I read this, and then I started thinking, I just hope that this does not set a precedent. Because ZeniMax Software, the publisher behind Bethesda Softworks, could very well pull the exact same shit on OpenMW. And they have been known to do that, namely with Mojang's game Scrolls. They pretty much said, hey, you can't use that name.
Apparently, the main thing with this one, though, was that they were advertising, oh, this is Vampire the Masquerade, Vampire the Masquerade, blah, blah, blah. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
But how's that any different than OpenMW? They're basically saying it's an engine re-implementation. Well, it's the exact same game.
It is, but they're not providing any odd assets or anything like that. They can't really go after reverse engineering. That's perfectly legal.
Yeah, no. It's the same thing with games. You can't copyright the rules, but you can copyright you can't patent the rules. You can patent the implementation, though. So
yeah, you can patent the assets, so to speak, the artwork and all of that. And if the new Vampire the Masquerade guys were actually using the old assets and everything else, then yeah, I suppose I can see it. But I really don't want some ZeniMax corporate lawyer getting wind of this.
Nope. I don't know, but
well, apparently this was also to do with CCP recently canning their recent World of Darkness game. But speaking of sucking the life, it's time for blowing.
Anorexia.
Yeah, totally misread the title on that one.
Yep.
All right, I'm just going to give these guys a bit of a pro tip, and seriously, this is the webpage. This is the entirety of it. So
I'm having some hardcore.
Welcome back to 1992.
Yeah.
All you need to do is throw on some under construction banners.
I gave this download. They released a demo of it. If you've ever played Aquaria, think Aquaria in a diving suit on a budget and only playable
Very
with a mouse.
constrained budget.
Did you play it, P-Man?
Just a little bit of it, and I pretty much agree with you. It's why I didn't really write down anything on the notes. It's a really, really poor Aquaria.
I seriously went, that's, nope. All right, done.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't even touch it. So
Well, that's at anorexia or whatever.
Anoxemia.
Anoxemia. But if that's too difficult to remember, you can find this in our show notes.
It means oxygen starvation.
Like
I
everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah, that'll definitely starve you of something, probably of othering life if you want to play it. The Battle of
But
Wessoff.
yes, the Battle of Wesnoth. That game that pretty much every single Linux user at this point has probably gone looking in the repos and said, Wesnoth, oh, this is a game. Let's download it and try it. Yep, it's still around. It's still kicking. And they have a new version out, version 1.12. They say, as the year comes to an end, a new stable release series begins. The development team is proud to present... It brings a new revamped interface, new multiplayer faction, dozens of new portraits, updated unit animations, hundreds of bug fixes, and a highly improved map editor. So
Yeah, there's actually a massive changelog in this article.
Yeah.
You can find the link to it in our show notes, as always.
But yeah, this is Wesnoth. If you don't know what it is at this point, what the hell are you doing in Linux? Really?
Probably playing games on Steam.
Well, yeah, nowadays you do have those.
So where were you for the past 5 years?
Exactly. In space! Because that never gets old. Space Engine. What is it? It's a space engine. Basically, you point and click on shit, and it zooms in and out and all that business, and you get to go on planets. And unfortunately, there's nothing that I have sex with. But they are doing a bit of a crowdfunding thing. They want 80,000 wet stinky caches, and they're getting close to the 25,000 Linux support, native Linux support for this. Mac support.
They're gonna. Well, at least it comes before Mac OS support.
Yeah, for Mac OS is 40K? Okay.
I was so curious about this. I downloaded because I was just looking through the files, and this has everything is open sourced in it, and I was like, this is going to run under Wine. Found out I did not have Wine installed on this box. YOLO swear. Installed
Full
Wine.
Metal Linux.
Right. Installed Wine for the first time on this rig, and it loads. It actually runs. It's not really a game. It's a bunch of shit. You click on things, you can explore.
It's like that universe simulator that never got ported to Linux for fucky reasons.
Yeah.
But,
Except if you go to Uncharted space, it's procedurally generated.
right.
I guess they're trying to make a game out of it.
They are. That's the big 80 thing right here. They want to do a single-player space exploration game. And I'm going to be honest with you. After looking at this and futzing around with it for a good, 20 minutes, I was like, that's neat. I don't see how you can make a game out of this. I don't know. Good on you. Hope it works. How close are they to their goal? 29, 80% to the 25.
They're at 23,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want a native Linux build, I'm sure this is going to be a very easy thing to do. I don't understand why it's 15, what is it? Yeah, about 15,000 more.
Well, it's cheaper than Mac development.
Yeah, because
Much like our game coming up next, I suppose. And welcome back. We are throwing chairs at This War of Mine by 11-Bit Studios. The fine gents that brought you the Anomaly Tower Offense series. It's built on a custom engine. You can pick it up for 20 What Stinky Space Bucks or 18.99 What Stinky Space Euros. And what is it? Make life or death decisions driven by your conscience. Try to protect everyone from your shelter. Or sacrifice some of them for longer-term survival. During the war, there are no good and bad decisions. There is only survival. The sooner you realize that, the better. And basically, you play as survivors in a war zone, trying to stay alive, trying to keep yourself fed and whatnot. It's like Space with Gravita. And like Space, it faces the Chairquisition. One chair means that it's crap. Two chairs means that it's meh. 3 cheers means that it's pretty good, and 4 cheers means that it's amazing. And of course, we have our categories of Doom, mixed with working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick this off. Then, this little war of yours shine?
Oh,
shine?
I'm going to make it mine. Seriously, on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS dual 770 powered, soon to be 4K displayed box of business with the octo-core goodness. It almost ran completely without a hitch. I can't ding this. When I first installed it and I hit play, Steam noped. I'm just going to blame Steam for that, because restarted Steam and everything worked just hunky, othering Dory. So I'm going to give that 4 cheers. Chairman.
I ran into one issue on the Fedora 2064-bit 670 superclocked 1090T powered box by my foot here. That is unfortunately not 4K displayed. It did crash on me one time when I alt-tabbed out of it and I was trying to fuck around to play some music while I was playing the game, but I wasn't able to reproduce it, so I'm assuming that's a one-time thing. Beyond that, it worked without a hitch, cranked up. The default settings were just to the roof maximum, and it worked, so 4 cheers.
Yeah, and for me, it worked great on the Amiga. It has an 8370E AMD FX processor and the Strix 970 GTX card. No problems whatsoever. I also tried it on my netbook here. It's got an AMD C30 APU, single core, 1.3 gigahertz. I didn't actually expect it to run, but I managed to hold, according to Gallium HD at least, 20 or so frames per second. So it's pretty good. 4 cheers.
All right, so that's 4 cheers with mixed with the working. What about the shiny and the sounds? Then
shiny and sounds. Again, for a game like this, you have to. I mean, this is basically your 2.5D look, and you have to judge it on what it is, and what it is emo. Very dark, unlike the happy, joy, fun time that is war, at least for me.
Good God, y'all!
Oh, the shinies look good for what they're supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to simulate, your quasi-post-apocalyptic, whatever, people are running around, and all that business. That's fine. For some reason, the shinies really, really wake up my CPU. It turns it into a bit of a dustbuster. Kind of curious about that. But I'm going to have... sounds, right. Yeah, there's sounds. I don't know. Didn't really. I was like, picked up the headset organ, put it in my ear. I was like, meh, all right, fine, Slayer. Done with that. But it's going to have to absolutely lose its share, because I've lost count of how many times the filthy stink humans tried to say something in that little bubble text, and it was blinded out by the hole in the wall.
Oh, did you ever run into the thing where if two of them are standing right next to each other?
Yeah.
Their speech just overlaps, and you can't tell either.
It's seizure. Yeah, it looks like everyone had a stroke. So I'm going to dig in a chair for that, because not that I'm terribly interested in their fucking issues. It's just unreadable. So I'll give it 3 chairs, because I think it is a very solid performer.
Yeah, there's not really any music in the game. You get some occasionally if you build a radio.
Baby.
There is a disturbing lack of Edwin Starr in this, I will say that. As for looks, the game looks fine. Like Ben said, it's the 2.5D hotel level thing from Smash Bros, where you go from floor to floor. It does really paint a grim picture, which I think is effective for what the game is. Additionally, the soundscape is fairly sparse. It's mostly just rustling and rumbling and all the various other noises you have in an empty house. So, but again, it adds to the aesthetic, and I think all the choices here were good aesthetic choices for the type of game they wanted to create. So, with that in mind, I'll give that 3 cheers, because it's pretty good.
Yeah, the sounds were there, but they were really nothing to write home about. I've heard it said that when you're going out on a mission and scavenging, you need to sort of rely on sound to know whether or not you're alone, but I found that you can deal just fine with using only the visual aids. Like, if there's a sound...
red circles.
Yeah, the little red circles. If there's a sound coming from somewhere in the building that you're trying to scavenge, a little red circle shows up. And that's good enough. Okay, there's something there. I need to check it out, just in case it's another scavenger or
It's a mouse.
a batter or something.
It has
It's
a
usually
gun!
a mouse. But yeah, for me, I think the most jarring part was the lack of voice acting. It's 2014. Even bad voice acting would have been something. I don't want to read entire walls of text anymore. Come on,
Naturally.
With
chairs.
randomly generated characters, would voice acting really be reasonable, though?
It could be done, as assuming the dialogue was not randomly generated.
Which it isn't, but again, whatever. That's 3 chairs for Shanny and Sounds. Control, then. Did
All
you
right,
feel like
you're thinking point and
or
click. This is going to
of
be
Zavor!
incredibly difficult to cock up. But, there's nothing to write home about. I mean, you point, you click, people move, and all that. One thing I kind of wish they had is when you got somebody doing a task, I would like stay on that fucking task no matter what else I fucking click. Because more than once, I forgot I had somebody doing something. And I was like, oh, what's this button do? Because there's fuck all tutorial for this game. And I wanted to click, and they're like, nah, I'm moving over here. And I was like, no, you're evil. Combat in this game is a fuck mothering joke. You better kill somebody in that first whack. Because if you don't, you're going to have a bad time at the ski slope, Brad. Because more often than not, you will get killed to death. Because it's just not refined. I don't know a way to put that. Yeah, I'm just going to say that. I mean, that's picnicking, but also enough to ding it a chair. So I'm going to give it 3 chairs for the pointy and clicky and dyingness.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine with one of the sponsors of this game being War Child, they want to put less emphasis on the combat, so I can sort of understand that.
Yeah.
But like Vin said, the interface is really simple. You point and you click. I too ran into that problem where like you sort of forget you have the one guy highlighted and you click on something else. Like a clearly labeled keyboard shortcut would be nice. But I don't think this game really needed a tutorial because you can more or less figure it out on your own just by clicking around. It's not unlike I'm going to compare it to Space because it's a game in recent memory that functions very similar to this game. Space's control schema is completely fucked. You sort of assign people roles and then you generate a list of tasks, and then when they feel like it, they'll get up and do shit. I like the ability to actually delegate tasks to people and tell them you do this, you do this, you do this. Managing your mans and whatnot, managing your resources. It's what makes the game the game. It's the core mechanic of it, so it works. I'll give that 4 chairs.
Yeah, the mechanics were definitely well implemented, and yeah, it's it doesn't have a tutorial because it doesn't really need one. You can pretty much go around clicking on everything and seeing what it does, and so long as you're in the hideout, you're pretty much safe. So when you go out and try to scavenge,
it'll clearly tell you when you can't do something.
Yeah. If you go out and try to scavenge, you have an idea, okay, so if I do this, it'll do this, so I can expect that. And to me, that's pretty good. And it's all a matter of clicking, and clicking does what clicking is supposed to do. So 4 chairs for me.
Alright, so that's 3 chairs for Control. And now our final subjective category. Fun!
I'd like to call it Point, Click, Die. The game.
Isn't that the name of that latest Tom Cruise movie?
Probably. When it comes to the fun, I genuinely had what I got in the notes here. It was like, oh, crafting. Oh, fuck. Right. Okay. And don't give me this starvation bullshit. I'm sorry. I got a crowbar and someone's sleeping in the motherfucking house. I got food, man. I mean, maybe I couldn't eat it, but I could, turn them into food and trade for tree bark and other hippie moon shit I eat. Didn't really like that aspect, and there's clearly not a me in there. We were talking before we started recording. Is the people who developed this game, maybe they were going for a certain thing, trying to show off something, an emotion like that. I don't know. I'm completely fucking dead inside. And to me, the people who developed this game thinking that's how that's going to work will be the first people deaded to death. I guarantee it. Guaranteed. So
He's just like Men's Warehouse. He guarantees it.
for fun, I don't know if this is such as much as a game or like trying to play on your emotional feelings, of which I have none. I found it repetitive, boring. It's fucking potluck on what day you show up. You can beat it in between 2 and 3 ons, depending on where you start out. Sometimes, middle of winter, you're just fucked. You're just like, all right, screw it, try again.
Yep.
When you start off, because you know you're going to be deaded to death. Good try, good graphics, decent sound, interesting, but not enough to make me ever want to fucking play this again. So I'll give this one chance. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know how much fun you're actually supposed to have in a war victim simulation game. This will certainly test your zombie survival plan if you luck out. It's like a roguelike where you get permadeath and you have everything is essentially randomly generated. So yeah, like Ben said, if you start off with a bad break, you're pretty much fucked. Like after I lost the first guy, I restarted the game, and my house was filled with nothing but weapons parts and no food. It was brilliant. But yeah, I don't know. I see what they're doing with the game. It does its job of trying to illustrate the horrors of war. It does its job trying to illustrate that if you are a non-combatant in a war zone, you basically are fucked, and every day is life and death. So that message got across. It's supposed to be a game, though. I play games to relax and enjoy myself, and this is not really one of these games. It is. I don't know. I would classify it in the sort of same vein as Depression Quest or Gone Home, where it's putting its message more in front of as more of an emphasis in the actual gameplay itself. So with that said, I'll give it 2 chairs because it does its job effectively. It's just not fun. It's not a fun game.
Yeah, like Jordan mentioned, they were trying to get the whole war is a bitch for people who are not fighting in it, like the civilians and everyone else. And this is what this game is trying to portray. It's not supposed to be fun, and I get it. But I also get that proper horror games are not supposed to be fun, and yet I love them. Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Silent Hill 2. Those were really awesome horror games. They were not fun to play. In fact, the only thing they did to me personally was make me not want to play them. This game, on the other hand, it just doesn't resonate with me. Maybe I'm not the target audience. I've never experienced war firsthand. So yeah, I'm an asshole, but it doesn't really resonate with me. And I really don't mind micromanaging a single person. It's when it comes to micromanaging an entire house filled with people that it really gets on my nerves. So for me, the best I can do is 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 1 chair for fun, and if we tally all this nonsense up, we get a final score of 3 chairs, which is pretty good. So, final thoughts? Is this game good for absolutely nothing? Good God, y'all.
For the prize. No, like I said, this is not meant for a person like me. I'm a psychopath. I ran into a situation where I had somebody wounded, and they were draining my resources to keep them alive. Yes, you can send them out and get them killed to death, but that's going to affect morale. All right, if I'm in a war situation, I'm not going to be in a house full of people affected by morale. I'm going to be surrounded by people affected with wanna fucking live. So, kill the weak, eat all the babies and that business. Again, for that price, you're looking at maximum 4 ons of gameplay. Really no replayability unless you're just like, oh, war's bad and depressing. War gets shit done, man. I mean, thinning out the hood. I just hate to break that to you. P-Man?
Yeah, war has been the way that humanity has pretty much advanced through the eons. Whenever there's a big war, there's always a big revolution in the way people think. And while it's not pretty, it's, like Ven said, a way to get shit done. This game, it tries to make you empathize with the people cowering in their homes that they don't want anything to do with the fight. And I can sort of see that, but it...
Yeah, but we're the
in
type
my
of people
opinion,
that are going to we're going to make poo sticks.
The poo stick. Save your mummy! Save your mummy!
It's not really the kind of game... Again, this is my own personal opinion. It doesn't do a very good job at what it originally set out to do.
Are you saying it's not good because you have no heartstrings to be tugged?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm an insensitive asshole. I'm a cold, calculating bastard.
And that's the thing. It's like I said in the fun segment. It's a game that puts its message it emphasizes its message more than its actual gameplay, and I think that will ultimately harm any game that does that, because you're supposed to have fun playing games. You're supposed to be challenged. You're supposed to be engaged, and this may not be engaging because its target audience, spoiled white Western people, are completely removed from war and conflict and have no empathy for it, as we've seen today. Coming up next, pigeons and boards.
Hello again, boys and girls. It's your favorite, well, maybe not yours, but it's certainly my favorite segment of the week. It's the hate mail. If you'd like to get in touch with us, as usual, go on over to LinuxGameCast.com, push that lovely contact button on the nav bar, fill out your name, fill out your email, give us a subject, give us your message, prove you're smarter than whatever Ven's CAPTCHA happens to be that day, and we'll be happy to feature your thing, unless, of course, it is a crowdfunding campaign of any type. If it is, make sure to include a Linux demo, prototype, alpha, beta, whatever you want to call it. Just include a link or a Steam key to it so we can play around with it, because if you don't, not only will we not talk about your thing, we will make fun of it.
Why you beta, bro?
Yeah, we don't really get a lot of hate mail these days. This week, it's pretty weak.
From Kembrotron, this is from one of the YouTube comments. Pedro said, AMD is not working on the Radeon open source driver, correct? I thought AMD has about 3 to 5 devs working on the Radeon driver. So who's right? Man, that was a hatful of comments, wasn't it? Hatful.
Good call.
Like, hatful boyfriend.
But yeah, AMD does not have any devs working on the open source drivers. They have donated code and
they're all busy working on the Linux kernel.
They have code and documentation released when it comes to their drivers and their hardware implementations and all that. There are 3 to 5 Mesa devs working on the Radeon driver. Yes, there are, but they are associated to free desktop.
What about that open source hybrid Radeon thing that AMD says they're moving towards?
Yeah, they say they're moving towards that, but I haven't actually been able to find any sort of information as to how they're going to do that. And in my opinion, that is just an excuse for them not to have to work any harder than they have to when it comes to Linux. The open source driver is already much better than FGLRX ever was, much more stable. So if they can use that as a base for their proprietary blob, sure. It saves them time, it saves them money. Everyone wins. Everyone gets a better driver, so yeah, it's good.
You know, I mean, outside of all that, I mean, yes, that was a very hateful comment, and I'm thinking about quitting.
Hatful.
Hatful.
All right, Hugh Shot. On the show, you were... On the show, you were talking of Berserker. Yeah, I won't do Berserker. Talking of Shat Realm upgrade. What did happen? Volunteer die in a fire. Make with upgrade already comrade. Hill?
Santa!
No, it's Hail Santa. Hugh, bruh. It's always
from
Hail
the Board
Santa.
Collective or formerly of the Board Collective?
The most delightful thing I didn't get to put in the response was database engineer, also known as Empty, a.k.a. Mike TN, wrote me back because I was like, yeah, let's do that this weekend. You know, I got some time for the beta. He's like, I'm not going to be around. It's like the one time I fucking need you to do something. So that's why you blame him. He's in chat realm. Get on a non-upgraded system and tell him that he's a horrible person that can't sit in a chair properly.
No, that is an entirely different answer that you gave me a couple weeks ago when I asked. We were on a call with T-Hen, and I asked him personally about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, I need to get him a new sequel dump." That's entirely my bad.
And this week, I said, I'm going to give you that new sequel dump. Guess what happened?
He fell off his chair.
But really, it's all P-Man's fault that we don't have that upgrade, isn't it?
It is entirely.
It's always
Pedro's
my fault.
Blame
Every
the
single
Mexican.
time, it's my fault. Blame the Portuguese guy.
We need to build a wall around the United States. Stop the Mexicans from getting in.
Yes.
What about Canada,
Because
bro?
they'll just fuck it up, just like Pedro.
On that bombshell, let's just cue the music. You can always find us live around 9:30 Eastern Moon Time. And it's a long show as an experience. I do suggest bringing something mind-altering. And join in Chat Realm. The darkest of dark, the worst of us, the trollest of trolls, the people who help us form Cocaine Voltron. But at the end of the day, speaking of taking that shot, I'm Vin Stone. You can always find me there, cleverly disguised on the Twitter nets, plus Vin Stone on the G+.
I am Jordan Svung. You can find me on Twitter at The Burning Fool or on Google Plus at +Jordan Svung. Chug, chug,
Here.
chug, 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 chug.
I am
chug.
Matthews. You can find me
You're
at
washing all that
Unaccounted
jizz
For
out of your
on
mouth?
Twitter. Or +Pedro Matthews.
Chug, 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 chug.
LGCKs, ladies and gentlemen, we are not held responsible for that.
Exactly. Just kill it already. It's done. It's dead.
Hey man, my liver is already pretty far gone.